Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Studio 666, or What You Do When You're Rich and Have Too Much Time on Your Hands, John. We're going to be reviewing that up here in just a minute, but first off, joining me back to the show after a long hiatus, Zombie Girl, West Coast resident. Please welcome Matilda to the show.
There.
Matilda, was it Candyman the last episode you were on?
No, it was
Oh, that was Rachel.
the one I have come to think of as Underwater Midsummer. Which one is that?
Oh, the something house, right? The deep house.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I
Deep
forgot
House.
you're on Underwater
I didn't even
Midsummer.
see that movie. Boom.
I like that.
That's good
Spoiler
description.
alert. Okay.
Next up on the show from Memphis, Tennessee, please welcome Elizabeth to the show.
Hey, y'all.
From Indiana, your boy Casey.
Hello.
And last up from Manhattan, New York City. That's where the Ghostbusters are from. How cool this guy is. Please welcome Mr. John Schnars to the show.
We are not afraid of any ghosts
No-
around here.
We are ready to believe you.
John, we've been on for like 10 minutes here, and you haven't even told me how good the gray looks in my beard.
Oh. Is that,
I think I'm looking pretty distinguished these
is
days.
that what
ain't
you
I?
were angling for? Did you put that in there? Is
I
that-
had
No.
no idea how that sentence was going to end. That was not where I
Huh?
was expecting it to go.
That's some quality stripe work you get going there.
It
Yeah.
is
I'll
actually.
give it kudos
It's like
for
a little
that.
like devil tongue kind of situation
It's like
going
your
on.
it's like your Chen was president for 2 terms.
Yeah, yeah, dude. That's what the last 3 years feel like. Very,
I don't, but
very good. way to
what,
put
like,
it.
was it not like that last week? I don't remember.
No, I'm
now.
just thinking about it this week, and you're supposed to read my mind and then tell me nice things
Oh.
about myself. That,
Well,
that doesn't seem like too much to ask for my.
it's
point of view.
something. It's something, Eric.
You guys are at that
Thanks.
age where finding stuff like gray hair where it didn't used to be is a big event.
It's
I
not,
get- I
I'm
get the
not.
feel.
I'm not upset about it. I'm pretty into it. I could go for the stately vibe. My kids love like pointing it out. It's like their favorite thing. My 3-year-old once asked me if all the hair fell off my head. She didn't ask me. She actually told me that all the hair fell off my head and landed on my legs, which I thought was the most brilliant thing I'd ever heard. It's like, yeah, yes, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Are your legs that
Science.
hairy, or are they just like
Yeah,
normal
yeah.
hairy?
I think they're probably hairier than yours, given your Nordic background.
That's fair.
My people are Irish and French Canadian. You know, I don't know.
I
Mine
haven't
are all
shaved my
fell off.
legs in like a long
Ooh. Hello.
Very nice.
Well, I
Are we
just
confessing right
speaking
now,
of
or-
like blonde and fine hair, like I don't have
Yeah.
to, but like even for a person who's like didn't really have to, it's
Maybe you
been
guys share
too
some
long.
ancestors. All right, everybody, we're here. This was kind of Casey's pick. Wanted to check this out. It's been on the docket for a hot minute here. Let's do it. Let's take a quick break and review Studio 666.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Come to prime time. Main feature.
John, I like your crisp, clean white T-shirt tonight.
It's white. It's not new.
See, that's what it
certainly
looks-
not
that's-
crisp because I've been
that's-
wearing it all day.
That's what it looks like to compliment your friends and make them feel good about themselves.
Thanks.
Just
That's what
thought
I
would-
needed.
thought I would
I
practice-
needed a
thought-
shirt compliment.
Thought I would practice what I preach a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
John Schnars,
Hmm.
please bring us the word of the day.
This is it, Jennifer.
It's not that one. It's this one.
I think that's 2 weeks in a row. You
It's
missed
been
the.
no, it's like 3.
They're right
Oh,
next
man.
to each other.
Yeah.
Everybody chill.
Phew. Yeah, you got your glasses checked after the gray beard situation. Maybe I don't know. Today's word, Eric. Thrash.
Ooh, I like it.
Thrash. Thrash. The verb. A lot of meanings. I'm gonna synopsize here. Beat a person or animal repeatedly and violently with a stick or whip.
Oh boy.
That's thrash. That's number one. That's the first definition. Move in a violent and convulsive way. I like that one. Move with brute determination or violent movements. But more importantly for our purposes is the noun thrash, a violent or noisy movement typically involving hitting something repeatedly. No, not that. A short, loud, fast piece or passage of rock music.
Mm-hmm.
is a
Oh.
thrash.
Love it.
That's like an actual definition. I was somewhat
That's
surprised.
great, John.
Yeah,
Well,
that was
I don't
good.
really know what it means because this is not my lane, but there is thrash metal. Like it's a specific category of metal.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, I mean,
She's
There's
close
a
to that
musician.
definition.
I see looks of
there you go.
confirmation.
There's one of those musicians in a cameo in this movie. Yeah.
Oh, see,
Ooh.
you should be telling us all this stuff. Ms.
I
Mooney.
can't wait till you tell us which person.
Right? I was like,
Did anyone
it
else
comes to us
notice-
from the English thresh?
Did anyone
is
else-
where that came from?
Did anyone else notice John Carpenter looking like he had 1 foot through death's door in this movie?
Was that
Oh,
him?
yeah.
It was him in the car.
it
Like
was
he
him.
was.
He
He
was
was,
in the
like one of
he
the
was helping with
engineers.
the, yeah.
He's like, hey man, I'm kind of into like old man John Carpenter. Just being. In
I mean,
things.
I don't know that I had seen his full body because
Right.
usually it's like a
Yeah.
you know.
Good for him.
Well, he did. Did you see he did the not the soundtrack. He did like the intro song, the
okay,
the
cool.
theme song.
Oh.
Dig
He was
it.
credited, him and his son
I did like.
and somebody else.
I did like a good deal of the music in it.
Mhm, same.
Love it, John.
There you go.
You know, it strikes me, John, that like a young person, one of those people, I don't interact.
Would be like, who the hell are the Foo Fighters?
Yes, I don't interact with a lot of them, but I sense that they're out there, and I feel like, yeah, they may. I mean, just to back it up, they may have no idea who Dave Grohl or the Foo Fighters are, or then another step like that he was in Nirvana, because a young person I think would be more likely to be like, oh yeah, Nirvana, that's a thing.
Yeah.
vaguely
I mean-
Well, I mean, here's a point of reference for you guys. It was a bit part of the major Christmas presents to get for my 21-year-old daughter Delaney to get Foo Fighters tickets for later this year, which sadly is not going to work
that's
out. But
fair. But she's also into.
She has you as her dad.
She's
That's
also-
fair
right.
too.
She's
Yeah.
into some like older music, like different kinds of music, maybe then.
She has exposure.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I
interesting,
mean-
John. I don't know. Tell me about Studio 666.
Well, so I mean, Casey might be better positioned. Let me give you. So BJ McDonnell is the director. I thought for a second this was his directorial debut. It's not, because his only other feature credit, he's done a bunch of stuff, including a lot of music videos in the metal space. He's done a bunch of stuff with Slayer, it looks like. He directed Hatchet 3,
Oh.
the third Hatchet.
Okay.
Do I remember that one being one of the better? I don't know. I can't remember.
No.
After one, I felt like they were all.
I think they're all trash.
Yeah.
They're,
Which
all,
ones have Daniel Harris?
they're all pretty much trash. After
Danielle
one.
Harris is in 3.
That's why I like it.
There you go. So yeah, BJ McDonnell is the director. Everyone involved in this movie otherwise is a Foo Fighter. Hold on, I should see. I think there might be another credit.
Do we have like a? Is
So-
this like a Chumbawamba situation? Is this like a collective? Are there more Foo Fighters than we know?
I don't.
Nope.
That's a question for Casey. I think they were all here
Yeah.
and
Yes, they were all there. Rami is a recent addition. He's the
Okay, which
keyboard
one's
player.
he?
He
Okay.
is
The
the
one that was
one
having
with the
sex
glasses.
with the
He's the
girl?
horny
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He looked newer to me. Like I don't remember
Yeah.
seeing him.
He's newer.
when I
That's why
saw
they
him
were making
live,
the jokes about like early on when
makes sense.
Dave said the music's all here, here, and here, and went through the band and pointed to each of them. And then when they got to Rami, he's like, "Yeah, not so
That dude is like you could show me a headshot of that guy with just like this, and I'd be like, oh, he's a musician in LA because he has terrible hair. But like past
He
a
was
certain
probably
age
my
for
favorite
sure.
one
Oof,
of the
woof.
crew. Casey, that's a perfect example of a joke that landed for 10 people. That's all this
Yeah.
movie, I would guess. So,
But who is this movie for? We'll
Yeah.
discuss.
Yeah.
we'll come back to it. This is sorry. So it was based on a story by Dave Grohl. He gets a based on a story by
I
credit.
saw that. Yeah.
And then Jeff Bueller and Rebecca Hughes wrote the screenplay. The premise is that the Foo Fighters need to make another album because their manager Jeff Garlin, or they called him their
They called
manager,
him something else. Yeah.
but he worked for the label, so that's not typically
Also, I
how that
assume
would,
this was shot
relationship
after.
would work.
I assume this was shot after Jeff Garland was canceled.
Yes.
No,
No,
before.
it's shot before.
That's what I mean. Before, yes.
Yeah. I mean, would they have cared one way or the other?
I mean, he
was-
got fired from the Goldbergs.
Yeah, but more for being an asshole and kind of creepy instead of full on creepy.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
but still, he got
we don't
fired,
need-
so it
He's
rose
a
to
diva.
it rose to a certain level. I'm just saying.
Sure. Whatever. We can come back. We can come
Yeah.
back to Jeff Garland if you really feel strongly about getting
I
But
don't.
so they need to cut an album. They're like creatively stumped, or I don't even know. Like it's unclear how much they give an F about making the album, but he basically says like, hey, look, I'm going to book you the studio and go work on this album. But where he really sends them is to this house where we have actually seen in an opening credit sequence, there was another sort of like murder kill spree that involved musicians of some kind. And so then the rest of the film is them making this song after Dave Grohl has interacted with some type of demon book craziness.
A very specific song.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but he has to finish the song, and then once the band finishes the song, that will sort of like unlock the demon powers. That's sort of the setup. That probably only gets you through the first like 2 acts. There's a third act of this movie that is just,
The word you're looking for is unnecessary.
It's unhinged, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, this is a vehicle for the Foo Fighters, as Eric kind of hinted at, to do whatever they want.
Have
for the most part.
something to do. Fill their days.
Well, I mean, presumably they could like maybe this was it. And Casey, I'm curious if you've read about the like making of when they couldn't tour. Did they just say to themselves like, fuck it, let's go make a movie? Was that basically where this came
again,
from?
much like
I honestly don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me either.
again,
That's actually like the most logical explanation.
much
here,
like X. It does no X spoilers
No
because
spoilers.
Elizabeth hasn't seen it, but it does very much feel like a bunch of people were like, how little number of people can we get in an isolated building to shoot a movie? Like, so we don't have to worry about
Yeah.
that shit.
Well, and look, there was a huge thing during the pandemic where musicians were like looking
Right,
for
you can't
things to
tour.
do.
Yeah.
And when you're as
Yeah.
famous as they are, you're not going to like, I mean, I guess
That's-
they could have started a podcast, but like they had to do something that was like bigger or weirder than.
No,
like,
you know what? It's an actually interesting aspect of this movie. And then I feel like there's a weird truth they're showing you about what it looks like to be maybe any level musician, but like definitely this rich level where like they're recording an album, but mostly they're just hanging out, grilling, and getting drunk. And like, I kind of
Yeah.
feel like that was just ripped from the headlines, so to speak.
As somebody who grew up in studios, that is a fair assessment
Right.
of how
Yeah.
time
And
is
then,
spent.
and then eventually like, hey, should we do music?
5 minutes of work,
Yeah.
40 days of partying.
All right. Matilda, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for
It's nice
joining
to
us
see you
this
all.
evening. Could you give me brief Foo Fighters thoughts and tell me what you thought about this movie?
Sorry, I missed the first brief Foo Fighters.
Tell me what. Give me a hot take on the Foo Fighters, and then tell me what you thought of this movie.
So I have no hot take on the Foo Fighters because I think I'm a little old to have a hot take on the Foo Fighters. But you know, my knowledge of Dave Grohl is mostly pre Foo Fighters. It's like Nirvana, and then now where it feels like in the last 2 years, it feels like 5 to 10% of American media being produced is by and for Dave Grohl. Like there's a memoir, and he's a talking head everywhere, and
I see him
in
on
every documentary.
I see him on TikTok a lot, but I realize it's like algorithm based. My TikTok is convinced I love Dave Grohl, and like they have had me convinced before I watched this movie.
Well, don't rant about Dave Grohl around your phone, or your algorithm will
Too
also
late.
be convinced you want to see more things. So this movie, you know, I feel like I went in trying to put that bias aside a little bit for myself and just like settle in and have a good time. And I feel like there was some great kill stuff at the end. There were some creative kills. There were some good practical effects. But the majority of the movie, I felt like, you know, with campy B-movie send-ups, you can kind of go one of two ways. It can be like fun and enjoyable as a throwback, or it can be kind of regressively bro-y. And I feel like this did not fall on the right side of that for me. Like things were not landing. There was about an hour in, I was like, are we going to get past the like grandma fucking jokes
Right.
at some point to
Right.
like
that was
horror?
that might have been the worst actually. The grandma thing was
Yeah.
so bad.
Because I do think I think you're pretty dead on, but I do think it's possible to make like bro love comedies, and
Absolutely.
but
Well, yeah, yeah.
it takes really thinking about a new way to do it. Like you gotta
Yeah.
I feel like there's
And
been,
it involves
and I
this
feel
new-
like we're Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Matilda. I was going to say it involves this new concept called editing.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry
and
to
there's
cut
some ways that like enjoy like being a little bit critical of traditional masculinity, which this one,
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Yes,
This
I
could have
think
been made in 1987.
That's a great way to put it.
Yes.
All right.
I agree.
All right, Casey. What you got?
All right. Okay, I'm a big Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl fan. I'll say it up front. I don't belong to like any online communities or anything, so I'm not like rabid about it. But I am a big fan of the dude and the Foo Fighters. I've seen them like 3 times live. Was gonna be 4 times this year, sadly, but understandably, tour has been canceled. It's been a hard time for a Foo Fighters fan as of late. That said, I got more out of this movie, I think, than others. But I understand that's because that's more my world than other people too. So that's not a problem. I mean, that they're kind of speaking to me as far as we've had a lot of conversations on who this movie is for, and maybe it was just made for me. It sounds like it.
The
could be.
audience of one.
Exactly.
Got it. Nailed it.
No, I enjoyed this movie. It is corny as hell. The dialogue is not anything spectacular. The gore is way better than I thought it was going to be, and I thought it was fun. And the story was passable. It's nothing new as far as rock and roll movies go or anything like that. So I enjoyed it. I realize there's problems there. There's a lot of problems, like when Matilda, like you're saying, with the dick jokes and the grandma jokes and stuff like that. I think my biggest problem with those is there was a lot of those, but they lingered on them all way too long, and it just felt weird and got awkward, especially that grandma joke. They just kept showing facial reactions.
It just felt like they were
"Don't
going
care."
like, right,
Yeah, exactly.
right.
Wink, 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 wink. So there's a lot of problems, and there's a lot of that in this movie, that they linger too long on all these gags. So I've said it a lot of times. I'm going to keep saying it. This movie needed a better editor, and it could have been a little bit better of a delivery story-wise if they edit out some of these jokes. Dick jokes are problematic, of course, but they have their place, and they have to be short and choppy and kind of like a seasoning, right, on top of the overall comedy, and just to get a laugh. And they rely on them too hard here, and so that makes it feel a little bit sophomore.
Dicks can be funny, but it's 2022. You got to really sit and think about how you're going to present that material. That's all I'm saying.
Presentation matters.
You got to stick the landing. I like a dick joke.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
It's a lot.
I'm not above it, is what I'm saying.
At the same time, though, and we've had a lot of this talk even as a big fan of the band, a big fan of horror. I don't really know who this movie's made for.
Yeah.
Other than Dave Grohl seems to like think, I've got this idea for a death metal band. It's not the Foo Fighters sound, but we've done concept stuff before. So what if we tack on a movie, and that makes it even more acceptable?
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Grohl pretty much has an idea, and he prints money these days, and nobody's going to tell him no. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, hell, man, if you got the money, people let you do what you want. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what has been said. I also want to first and foremost appreciate just fandom in its purest form here, because I probably watch the Taylor Swift zombie music video once a week. It's my personal thriller. If they made a full feature of her just being a zombie queen, I'd be set for life. This movie, though, like, I like the Foo. I historically am a fan. I've seen them live. I had a huge thing for Dave Grohl for a long time, before the internet was what it was. Now we see everybody's every thought.
Me too, Elizabeth. Me too.
You did say you were a little.
Him and Anthony Kiedis. That was like.
You did say you were a little shocked by how old everyone looked.
Oh, that was the very first thing that happened. Was like, I was just like, "Fuck, y'all are old." That means I'm not much new. Like, I recently on YouTube was called an old lady in the comments. That was fun. So yeah, no, I had moments of this movie that were quite enjoyable. I think the gore was pretty on point. Like, I think that because I kept wondering who is a horror fan here, because like I don't feel like like there's someone, like, I liked that opening sequence. I loved is it Jenna Ortega? I wish
She's
there was
in
more of
every
her.
movie
I
we've
wish there was
done
more
for
of her
Yeah.
always.
But
Ever
like,
since
That's
I
like our
wish she would
third
take a
movie
break.
this year, right?
But
Yeah.
like that whole thing confused me. We can come back to that. That was cool. Like I was impressed with like off the bat. We've got this like cold open where there's like brutal gore, like some mystery, like whatever. Like this is neat. It's kind of slick in a way I didn't think it was going to be. Then all I enjoyed was like the gore moments after that. Everything else felt, I mean, it really did just feel like, okay, maybe y'all have done this as well. Me and my friend Andrea in middle school used to just set up her dad's camera, his camcorder, and like the entryway to her house would be our stage, and we would just do any SNL skit we could think, like anything. We thought we were hilarious. No one ever saw this because that's what you do with shit like that, is you put it in a closet and then someone moves or the house catches on fire. I felt like I was just watching somebody's like
Right. We were bored
like
during the
jerk
pandemic.
off, like I'm just with my friends, and like who is this an inside joke anyone else knows? Like I just felt there were many moments of misconnecting with, even like you have such a rabid fan base that like, and I consider myself a fan. I've paid money to see them perform, and I'm glad, you know, in light of tragic recent events that I have, there was an opportunity, I think, to go places that they just didn't with this. And I think that it was a lot of, you're not wrong, Casey, in the editing being an issue. There were issues in the story creation, Dave, and the actual screenwriting, and the acting all the way around. You know, Dave Grohl, you said this, Eric, in email, but he was probably the strongest, I guess.
Oh, by far.
And still, like it's not really
can
an
follow a
endorsement.
convoluted fucking plot. Like by the third act of this, I legit was like, wait, what?
Well, and
what?
it
Like,
all happens in the last
It does.
Real
20
fast.
minutes.
But for a
Yeah.
movie
Yeah.
that is the substantial equivalent of this to be what it is for 75%, and then be like, it's like a fucking like the finale of a fireworks show. Like, but this character, this plot, this subplot, this thing, this comes back.
I would like
And then
to.
also, I felt like there were things that didn't, like they could have done, but didn't land. Like, okay, Will Forte, his like, what was the name of his little? Was it Broken Bones or
I don't.
No, it was Bone Structure.
Bone Structure? There you go. Okay,
That's nice.
like they make a point to have this whole thing about like Dave Grohl's possessed self being like, well, like link on our Tweetstagram or something, and then he just like throws the CD back over. I mean, I fancy myself somewhat of a writer. I was like, is this going to be the bridge that like gaps there? So like, is he going to listen to this and it's somehow going to inspire? It was a Chekhov's gun that never went off in a way that like felt really weird. So everything aside, there were like gaps in the storytelling here that just made me uncomfortable. I
Your
don't like it.
expectations for the storytelling were much higher.
Yeah.
Than
Okay, look, when something opens with based on a story by John Schnars, that means something fucking epic happened, and you told a story somewhere, and somebody else was like, "We got to make that a movie."
I
Like,
think Dave
Mhm.
Grohl
has
was going to
anybody
the
else ever
bathroom
seen
one
that
time.
credit?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's like not that uncommon if it's like based on a short story
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
No. That's a
I
different.
understand. I
Story by
understand your
credit
logic.
is
All right.
I understand your logic, but like John was saying too, I think a story based on a story by could be two dudes hanging out at the
He was
urinal
drunk
and say,
one
"Hey,
Listen,
did you see
listen.
what I did
I
the
think
other
we can
day?"
all agree it's bold for anyone to put their name on the story. John, what did you think of this movie?
so. I mean, look, like weirdly, I feel like I'm in the position of having to like somewhat defend this movie. But, I mean, I like generally agree with everything you said. My expectations were so low for this that I ended up being like somewhat surprised that it was better than I was expecting it to be.
Oh, interesting. Uh-huh.
Well, look, like when I say that, there's a couple of things. A, like the plot is there's not a plot for half or more of the movie, and then there's like so much plot you can't tell what's going on for the other half. So like problematic. I guess I more was surprised that like the production value was at a level above what I was expecting it to be. Like
It
I
looked
would
like a real movie.
yeah, like, and look, maybe I need to like reevaluate or like reset my expectations. And certainly Dave Grohl can afford to spend whatever he wants to like make
Yeah.
this look like a real movie. But yeah, it was like competently put together. The horror, it was more of a horror movie than I was expecting too. Which like, I don't know, like again, starting from my expectations are very, very low. Like I laughed upon maybe my tolerance for dick jokes is higher than others. I just haven't like seen that many dick jokes in a while, and I was like, I needed there was like a gap there that needed to be filled.
So to speak.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's not good. Like, I wouldn't recommend this to anyone that's not a Foo Fighters fan. But if you're a Foo Fighters fan, like, this might be the best movie you've ever seen. Like, it's just, I don't know.
That's
it's
amazing.
so weird.
John,
so, yeah,
counterpoint. I think this is a badly put together movie.
Well, yeah, I don't want to like overstate like how well made it's not, but like I don't know, like I was even surprised at
Man,
the
look
horror
at John
elements where it's
being
like horror.
John being
As they
an
were.
optimist. What is going on in 2022?
It's funny to me. So like the Dave Grohl, like I actually would have said that the keyboard player was the best. Like there was such like there was a narrow range of quality of acting among the Foo Fighters. So like the best is still like quite
Yeah,
bad.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But there's so much Dave Grohl in this. Like at a certain point, I appreciated that he was like self-aware enough to like joke about the fact that it was the most like solipsistic nonsense that's ever maybe been made. But then he like still went through with it. Like he still did
Yeah.
it.
I
So-
think it's worth pointing out let's say synchronicity that we reviewed this movie days after SNL released its short ass movie sketch. Because it's an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, it's
And
so
it is-
so much.
It
too
is
long,
Yeah.
easily 15 minutes too long. I would argue this would work
Oh.
best as like a 20-minute short that like you watch
Yeah.
at a film festival or something.
Yes.
Because like, dude, you could keep all the coolest moments and take it down to a short. I don't know.
I was like almost angry by the time it ended because I was just like, like.
So I will caveat. I watched this in 2 sittings, which
So did
helped
I. It wasn't
because
enough.
Did I?
Yeah.
And I still was like,
Yeah.
this is.
I
I-
got to like my fill in the first sitting, and I was like, all right, I just gotta.
Yeah.
go
So
to
that's
bed,
part
and
like
then-
the
Yeah.
first act is brutal. Like
Yeah.
here's what this movie did do. Here, I'll start out with a compliment sandwich, John. Here's what this movie did do. It made me appreciate the value of comedic timing and its worth when combined with good writing. Because basically
You
what
just want to go watch some 30 Rock.
basically what the humor in this movie is it's like badly warmed over dick jokes from like a 2011 Judd Apatow movie. Now, I
totally.
love-
Judd Apatow cutting room.
but now I
floor
want to
stuff.
say, like, to Matilda's point, I love a lot of those movies. I love, you know what it reminded me of is like somebody watched This Is the End or something and wanted to make
Yeah.
something that kind of meta and bro-y. And like, that movie also came out like 10, 11 years ago. So it was a little bit of a different time comedy. And that, some people, it's just not their thing. That's cool. But what makes that shit funny, like, you know, some of the shit Danny McBride says in that movie could have been pulled from that and put into this movie. Like, it's not that the writing is that much different, but when you're trying to do comedy, you feel the gulf in acting chops here so deeply. And there's so much Dave Grohl, and it feels like you can see the gears turning in his head. Like he's trying to hit his marks and do his little comedic beats. And sometimes it's like multiple thoughts and marks in the same shot. And when that is happening, it is so bad. It's so distract. It's like there's a scene where he's with like I think it's where he meets Whitney Cummings at the fence, and like he's like he's like turning to Taylor and saying a line, and then he's like, it is. I feel like I'm watching someone do math in their head, and it's the problem is it's not funny. The timing is completely off. He's like missing everything. They bring in people like Whitney Cummings to try to bring some like comedic chops to it, but she's like a side character at best. I also think she's the kind of like your mileage in her may vary as well. I think I didn't find her
Oh,
really
yeah.
funny. I don't think, you know, she doesn't have a lot to work with here, but I think this movie is god awful. I think it is atrociously bad.
Yeah.
And I agree. I don't know who it's made for. The best stuff about it, I really enjoyed the first like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which is the opening kill and then the John Carpenter theme song, which I didn't realize it was John Carpenter, but I was like, hey, this is a jam. I like this. Then you get to this first act, it's all the jokes. And you're like, oh my fucking, like, what is going on right now? And the slashery part doesn't even really start until like an hour in, which is about where
Yeah.
Will Forte gets it. That's too much to ask of me, John.
Oh
That's too
no,
much.
totally agree. Like there's nothing going on for an hour. That's
Yeah.
totally
I
true.
will say, I really, liked the music, like the devil music they're like channeling and making was good. And like
Into it.
those scenes are directed almost kind of music video like, so it gives them a little more energy than the rest of the movie. The
Mhm.
rest of it is like somebody doing an imitation of like the lighting and directing on a Curb episode. It's like
Yeah.
overlit, undercut, like there's just not a lot of cuts, or like there's no real movement. They're going hard for comedy is what I'm saying. So like
Yeah.
it's not even like you've got fun spooky atmosphere, because on
No, well, the
paper-
horror is comedy. It's
on
like,
paper, I
yeah.
love this stuff. This idea on paper is like a really famous band ends up in like a Scooby-Doo situation that's ultra violent and like R-rated and goofy, and they gotta bumble their way out of it. And it's like, okay, cool. But the thing about Scooby-Doo is it was like spooky too, and so that's kind of what made that makes that concept fun when you're doing a horror comedy. It's rare for me for horror comedies to go full comedy and make it work. One of the ones I'm thinking of is
Final Girls. They didn't.
it's pretty dramatic too though. There's like
yeah, I
some,
was gonna say there's a lot of
I'm
drama in
thinking
that.
no, I'm thinking of Hell Baby.
Hell Baby.
Hell Baby is
Oh, that's a good. Yeah.
pure comedy, pure shtick, pure jokes, but you're
So
talking
good.
about really legit like comedic actors in that movie, right?
It's a spoof. I mean, and that's what this is more spoof
Yeah.
like too. But
you
the-
know,
because the
I think it's
gore
real
is-
misguided to do this with a bunch of people with zero acting experience. And my favorite, and it's why I made him my background tonight, is Pat Smear, who for most of this movie looks like he barely knows where he is.
What the
they-
fuck?
He's 63. I think I saw.
Yeah.
They give him a lot.
He's got
He
a
is
lot of
alive.
lines.
Wow.
And like,
He's got a lot of lines. He has the enthusiasm of like a potato. I don't know. Like it's real funny. I like him a lot. It's funny. I kind of came out of the movie liking Dave Grohl
Yeah.
less and liking Pat Smear more, because he just kind of seems like the dude that they were like, "Hey, be here at this time. We'll just tell you what to do." And he was like, "Okay, cool, bro."
I still
know."
don't understand.
He was very
why Pat
charming.
Smear
He
had-
is, yeah.
I still don't understand why Pat Smear had to sleep in the kitchen.
I don't.
So,
Yeah,
like,
that was,
dude-
I was amused by that. The scene where he wakes
Yeah.
up on the floor and he's wearing the hat. Like, just
Anyway, it's kind of
so
It's
ridiculous.
kind of like a bummer, because I agree. There's like a lot of potential for a fun thing here. I don't understand. What I wish I would have seen is that they hired, like, I think that they made a couple mistakes. I think they needed to have a real legit, not even comedian necessarily, but like a legit comedic actor be an integral part of the cast that is there in like
Yeah.
almost every scene, because I also think that has an effect on the actors where you sort of can elevate people around you a little bit, and when they're I think it would help them with their timing and all that stuff. I think it needed to be like spookier, and I think they probably needed to hire somebody who's got like a legit horror track record and didn't direct like Hatchet 3. So
Yo, Hatchet 3s. That's
the bomb
hard, bro.
apparently. But man,
Can I? let me ask the question.
2022
I asked-
so far the angriest I've been watching a movie.
Well, let me. So I asked this question over email, and like I realized maybe we're like skipping, but we've reviewed maybe enough. If I'm curious, would people like if they had just not had the Foo Fighters in this?
Right. Well, mhm.
I'm kind of here for this movie in the
Yeah.
version that's like professionals, because the Foo Fighters stuff, like there's moments like the one you mentioned, Casey, where there's like whole jokes or parts of the not plot. Like I wouldn't say they're like integral plot elements, but there's parts of it where it's like if you know which Foo Fighters which, you're really gonna get a kick out of this.
yeah, no, yeah.
That shit went
a
so
little
far over my
lost
head.
on me.
Yeah.
But like you could have just had generic band and had them go through this exact same experience. And like I don't know, I'm here for that movie.
yeah,
Like,
well,
that
dude,
would be a fun movie.
Imagine a cast with like 4 or 5 like Rob Corddry level like middle-aged comedian dudes like really leaning into that.
If we saw
One
the
lady,
entire,
maybe. I don't
Keep-
know.
you
if
can
we
keep
saw
Pat
the full
Smear, though.
movie of the opening credits, I think you guys would all be fans, right?
Like the movie that they promised
that-
in the credits. Is that what you mean?
Like like that band that was in the first
Oh,
in the
right.
opening
Sure.
credits and stuff. I think if that was the entire movie,
Sure.
it probably would have come across better.
Yeah. I
Well,
wonder
that part
too.
was not
Mhm.
funny.
Listen, I
That was like a
wonder.
real
I do
straight up
wonder
farce.
though. I wonder if you could markedly improve this just by a better, tighter edit, like that moves
Yeah.
faster, has less
I think
jokes,
so.
gets to the killing
that
faster.
grandmother joke scene could have just there's
And then I
a
mean,
lot of
dude,
that.
you know what it was? The opening scene. They're in this like record company room building, and there's just some like unbelievably hacky joke when they're just like, I'm gonna make you like suck your own dick, and it's like it goes on
Oh,
on
right.
and
Yeah.
on.
It's gonna go back into your mouth.
Oh my god, it was the worst thing I've ever
Yeah.
heard.
John is
I
into
was
it. Love
laughing
it.
because it was so dumb. It was just like
I'm gonna be honest, like it basically turned me on the movie almost instantly because it was so bad.
now that you're
part of the-
describing it, I didn't laugh this hard when I watched it, but when you described it,
fucking-
now I'm laughing. Like,
Are you saying, John, there's maybe a market for me describing this whole
You
movie
needed a YouTube channel where you were just describing offensive
in
jokes.
real time? Yeah, just watching.
that joke was
Uh-huh.
so bad, and that was Jeff Garland. That was like,
See, like the
Yeah,
biggest
but
thing
like
that
you
this
know,
movie
Jeff
makes me
Garland's
think of,
Jeff Garland's funny because Larry David's there, John. Like, let's be honest.
yeah, no, fair.
the biggest thing this movie brings to mind to me, and this is me being a nerd and a music nerd, et cetera, but this isn't. This feels to me like a spoof of the Beatles making movies. They made like 3 of them, and like the Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. It feels like they're spoofing on that because this entire
That
movie
is
it
an
feels
excellent movie.
I was made
They're
to watch a
joking
lot
on
of those,
themselves.
and you're on some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're-
I dig that. I
they're
mean, and
ripping on
and-
themselves the entire time.
yeah, and we're in an era of pop culture that's so self-referential. Like it seems
Right.
the
Makes
sense.
landscape seems pretty ripe for that kind of thing to be visited more. And and
Yeah,
But
we're
Eric-
in a pop culture era where like there's just a lot like because there's so much 90s nostalgia, especially right now, you almost have like a higher percentage of like elder statesmen like band people just hanging around, like apparently looking for something to do. What were you gonna say, Matilda?
I mean, I was going to go back to what you were saying about like them aiming for this is the end with this, because I actually think that movie's really successful.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like they aimed for this is the end, but this is essentially like their Spice World.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, right? It's got cameos,
Preach.
like in Spice World, like Meatloaf shows up, and
Where's
that's
Alan
delightful,
coming?
but-
We just need yes.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
like you know, this has fun like cameos. Like Lionel Richie shows up. The roadie is Kerry King from Slayer. Like,
yeah.
That's a great.
The Foo, I wish they would
See-
put on the poster the Foo Fighters Spice World.
But I think
Matilda.
Spice World fits in with my theory too. That
To-
they're
it,
spoofing on
you're
those.
right. You're right. It's a
Yeah.
campy spoof of an existing subgenre.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
right, or
Rock
like
and roll movies.
the Village People made a movie in like 1980 called "Can't Stop the Music" that is
Mhm.
unreal.
Mhm.
If you've never seen it,
But what if like Tenacious D made this movie? Like I feel like
Well,
there
They
are.
did.
Yeah.
Well,
I was
did.
gonna say, but like Tenacious D's whole thing is that it's a joke,
Is
right? Like
this,
that's
yeah.
somewhat a difference, and they're also
That is, you're
professional
right, yeah, that is true.
comedians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, like I've seen Tenacious D live, and like
Nice.
that shit was amazing, and I laughed
Yeah.
my ass off.
See, that
like-
makes me jealous, John. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's because I did have that thought at one point, like this, but this feels like a knockoff of something they would do.
Well,
Like they
Yeah.
Right, that's my point.
they did like one song that was like a bit that was this movie, you know?
Yeah.
So
I was
Yeah.
actually more surprised that Jack Black did not show up as a cameo in this movie. Considering Dave Grohl was the devil in the Pick of Destiny.
That's a good point.
Mhm.
Listen, it would have been a
That's true.
dangerous thing to get too many like real comedian
They
cameos
should have
in
just had
there.
Casey on set. I feel like if he were just in the writers'
really.
room, they'd be like,
But
"Oh,
listen though,
I know. I want the movie that you envisioned.
I do too.
Kate.
Like, I would watch that.
but listen though, if you're like watching this movie with these comedic actors and then Jack Black comes on and shines for like 5 minutes and then goes away, aren't you like, oh shit?
You're like
Pretty
watching
much Jack
Felicity with
Black's-
Carrie Russell.
That's Jack Black's shtick, though, isn't it? He shows up and makes a ham of himself for 5 minutes and disappears.
They-
I was just googling who's this actress we see in the very beginning. Is it Jenna Ortega? Is that her
Jenna
name?
Ortega.
yeah.
Yeah. It just shows up like she's in everything. Like
This is
Yeah.
our third
X,
of her
Scream
movies that
5.
we've covered.
X.
Mhm.
This is the third movie. She was in You season 2. She was in something else I just saw recently.
She's taking over horror.
it's wild. It's
And
insane.
I'm okay with it.
She's having a
pretty-
real,
She's been good.
Yeah.
She's having a real Shia LaBeouf moment. Let's hope it works out better for
Yeah,
her.
she is.
Yeah, let's hope.
But I mean, to her credit, she's not playing the same. We've covered her in 3 different movies, and she hasn't played the same character in any of those 3 movies.
That whole honestly, that does really feel
It's a-
like a like non sequitur in the movie though. It's like 90 seconds in the beginning and then the very end that band basically.
I don't even
So-
get what they're trying to tell
Can
me
I
what
ask,
that-
at the end, I had a sense that like she wasn't actually there and it was like an animatronic or a CGI'd version of her. Like it
Oh,
looks
interesting.
so
It did look weird.
Like,
It's
they
It
weren't-
looks like
She
when they
doesn't
try to do,
like
when
they
try to
no
do
no, but
CGI
you
babies, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not human.
But she doesn't speak either in that sequence, even though there's like
do you think we
The
got
ma- I do- the
communication
makeup
happening.
looks
John,
CGI.
John, do we
Everything
have
about the lighting.
Something.
John? Do we have a Harold?
Yeah.
Do we have a Harold Ramis situation on our hands? Do you think she got ghost dogged?
I don't know. Well, back to the theory of they made this during COVID. Maybe it was like
Right.
she was available. She like shot one scene, and then they were like, "Ah, fuck, we got to end this movie somehow."
That seems like a lot of work to go
Much
through.
we don't need to
for-
get her back.
That seems a lot of work.
Yeah.
It seems to me like it would be easier to reschedule somebody than it would be to really completely create them from whole cloth. Like you do that with Harold Ramis because he's
Yeah.
dead, John.
Now,
She-
I definitely
Yeah, I know
get the
that.
feeling they had him on set for like one day, and they're like, "We're gonna shoot
Oh,
this
yeah.
stuff from the prequel, and then we're gonna have you guys pose here at the end, and we're gonna superimpose it."
They could have shot this whole movie in like 3 days at that house, right?
yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I am very curious what they spent on making this because I was checking the production company. It was it's Roswell Films, which is Roswell is the name of Dave Grohl's record company.
Yeah.
So, it got a theatrical release, very limited, and it hit like right during Omicron, I think. So
So
tough go.
I do have a concept that Dave Grohl's got this thing lately for, and I got it. I touched on this in email address or in the email discussion, but I think I have an idea that Dave Grohl's in a concept album mood. If you look back at their catalog, they've actually released like 10 studio albums. There's a live album, then there's a concept album from like a year ago, like that was released last year, the DGs, that was all Bee Gees covers by the Foo Fighters. And now it kind of feels like, because there's an album release connected to this movie of, I can't think of the exact name of the band from the opening credits. I think it was Death Widow, but I'm not 100%.
I think that's
but
right.
If you go search on Spotify, that's in Foo Fighters' discography, and it's like a full 8-9 track album. So I think they had another concept album, and they've already done the thing with the Bee Gees. How can we make this different? Let's
Yeah.
make a movie. It feels right with that, and that makes me think that some of the writing in this coming from Dave Grohl, talking about struggling with writing his 10th studio album,
Yeah,
et cetera,
he's-
and the
right.
music blockage, maybe he's working through
It's
some
easy. It's easy to get that he's like funneling some real life
Mhm.
stuff in there.
stuff. Yeah.
Bee Gees, do they
Yeah.
cover any Bee Gees off of Odessa? I wonder. I need to go.
I don't know. There's a full album. I'll send you
I'm
the
gonna
link.
look.
It's
Yeah.
there was actually a video out there on YouTube of them in the I can't think of the name of the Baptist church that protests all the like.
Oh,
Pro-
in Texas.
What?
Yes,
Westboro back.
Westboro. Yeah.
yes, Westboro. They actually, when they played in that town where Westboro Baptist Church is, they went in front of the. They had like a whole convoy going past the Westboro church singing "I Feel Like Dancing" from the Bee Gees. It's pretty good.
It's,
Yeah.
I want.
That's a
It's
good
worth
look.
saying too. Like I'm in curmudgeon mode tonight, but I do I can appreciate an aging artist branching out and trying new things and trying to find a new outlet.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he has Dave Grohl somehow has a song in the new Fraggle Rock reboot. Also,
Amazing.
Yes,
Like, I
they
just-
did the theme song.
Yes, he is in all the lanes.
When I think
Yeah.
Dave
So
Grohl
his
lately,
family
It's a
will
full
eat
Dave Grohl
tonight.
chord press.
when I think Dave Grohl lately, I just think of this TikTok that I literally get served like once a week. That's him. I was telling Elizabeth this last night. It's him talking to Pharrell in a studio, and he's like,
So amazing.
"Oh yeah," he's like, "I stole we were making Nevermind." He's like, "I didn't really know what I was doing. I stole all of those drum riffs from like 70s soul and funk music." He's like, the track to "Smells Like Teen Spirit" is from the Gap Band, and then he goes like, he does it on his his like legs, and then they cut to the clip, and it's identical. Like it's
Yeah.
the exact thing. It's fascinating.
The dude was like 19 when Nirvana hired him.
And Pharrell's just like mind blown. It's fun. It's a fun video. It's in fact
Well-
like it made me. It's the reason why like when I think now like Dave Grohl, I'm like, oh, he seems like a nice guy. Like it's like
Yeah.
totally
Oh,
changed my.
absolutely. Yeah.
But I mean, that's why
He has a
The
self. He
idea
has
of
a
them
self-deprecating vibe that I connect with.
Yeah, that definitely. He's definitely a fairly humble guy. I think he comes across that way. He's willing to laugh at himself.
Other
but-
than this movie, you mean?
Well,
I mean,
But-
other than touching everything I love and exhausting.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
gonna
Dave
start a
Grohl, get
Dario
out of
remake
Matilda's
next,
face,
like-
okay?
But what I'm saying is, this isn't that. This didn't seem that out of tune for Dave Grohl to try and do a horror movie. The dude has, for his entire career, he gets a whim up his ass and decides, I want to make an electronic metal album, and we got Probot, which he did an album for, or he plays with the Queens of the Stone Age
Listen,
for a couple
all
albums.
I-
and
all-
sort of
absolutely.
crap like
He
that.
was rumored to be in like somehow involved in Ghost, although we never know, right? Like
Yeah.
the joke in my house is we watch a lot of like heavy music documentaries in my house, and so the joke was like we were going to watch a nature documentary, and I was like, if Dave Grohl comes out of the ocean and is like, that octopus wouldn't
Like
be
a
doing
dolphin,
what it's
like,
doing
catching
without the
them.
Melvins, I'm going to lose my shit. I can't.
Listen, I think
You're gonna go look inside your clothes, and it'll be like inspected by number 67, Dave Grohl. Like, you're
He'll be
all-
like, do you know about the MC5? It's important you know about the MC. Like it's too much.
Oh my god.
I think we can all hope that Dave Grohl's at least treating Pat Smear well, since I can understand what it's like to not have your creative partner not compliment you. So I hope that Dave Grohl is somewhere right now complimenting Pat Smear on his wonderful silver hair.
Well, like John
Wouldn't
said,
you be Dave Grohl in this situation? Just to be clear, like.
yeah.
I don't know. We can talk about it.
All right.
We can
Well,
talk about
like
who
John
we're going to
said,
be.
Pat
Am I
Smear's
Nico,
pushing
or-
70. Pat Smear's pushing 70, so Dave's got to treat him somewhat well for him to stick around this long,
I-
right?
That was my other question. And like, again, we don't need to go down this road. I know very little about the Foo Fighters. Like, I don't know that I could have named. So like, Everlong is like the song that I know.
Everlong
But like,
and Hero. That's all I got.
if
Yeah.
you had asked me to come up with Everlong before watching this movie, I don't know that I could have.
They mentioned it, yeah. Okay, hey, I
so
laughed at
That
that.
one joke was funny.
I
That one
laughed
joke
at that
was funny
when-
where they were like,
Not the
da-da-da, and they're like, oh, you already wrote that song. Oh,
Not
yeah.
the
You wrote
first.
it 20
The,
years
the
ago.
first riff didn't get me, but when he started playing Everlong after that, because it's just so recognizable, that was the one that got
Yeah.
me.
Well, no. So here's my question: how did the band come together? Because Pat Smear and like, were they like hanging out? Like, this is, I understand that Grohl had like a whole career, obviously
Yeah.
before. Like, I don't know. I was like, wow,
John,
this
I
is
bet
such a
you-
random
I-
My
group of
understanding
dudes to be like hanging out together.
My understanding was that because, like, on that first Foo Fighters album, it is all Dave Grohl. He recorded all the parts. And then he started piecing the band together for touring and stuff. He'd worked with Pat Smear before and went back to him and said, hey, you want to come join me?
Gotcha.
That's how they started.
I just always remembered Pat Smear from that one Jane's Addiction video they showed every day in like the early '90s from Lollapalooza. Matilda's got me. All right, y'all. Studio 666. I think we've dedicated enough words to it. Would you recommend it, Matilda?
I think if you love the Foo Fighters and you think of it as their kind of fun send-up movie, I think yes. Otherwise,
Foo Fighters Spice World,
no.
obviously.
Yeah, Foo Fighters Spice World. Yeah. Otherwise, no.
Casey.
I think, like Matilda's saying, if you're me, yes.
Elizabeth.
I mean, I don't like a conditional answer, but yeah, like for fans of the band, I feel like you don't need to recommend it. They're probably on this already, but like otherwise, I'm not telling folks to go seek it out.
John.
I'll just make it simple. I'm going to say no, even though I was the one nominally defending the movie.
I'm gonna say capital no. We're gonna do like maybe like a 25 font size on this, John. Just no. Like you're sending an email at work and you want to make sure they hear this one word, and it's no. Don't watch it.
It's a hard no.
All right, y'all. That's gonna do it. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
You know, a lot of people write me and say, hey, Joe Bob Briggs, just what is monster vision? You don't need no special glasses or an insect's head, just a healthy love for slime and disrespect for the dead. We'll talk about some movies by the old double wide, and when you get that creepy feeling creeping up inside, well then you got monster vision, it's a heck of a fright. We're tearing the heart out of Saturday night. These monster vision movies serve a primitive primitive drive. Cause watching people die can make you feel so alive. So throw away your clicker now, the flicks have begun. Cause there's nothing you can do while fully dressed that's as fun as watching TNT beneath the bug zapper light. We're tearing the heart out of Saturday night. Tearing the heart out of Saturday night. Hey, I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and you're listening to the Bloody Good Horror Podcast.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back.
Did you need a little pick me up?
Yeah, I know I ran that a couple weeks ago. I was just gonna say that. It's instant serotonin, John. So
I know. I heard you.
John, we just switched podcast providers.
Podcast hosts, yes.
Yeah. Have we really?
It's our second switch ever, I think, right?
If you're hearing this, it worked.
If you're not hearing this, let us know.
I haven't even logged in yet, and I got to post it tomorrow. So let's hope it goes well. Yeah, so we're with, what's the name of this company we're with now?
We're with Anchor. Anchor is owned by Spotify.
So we originally and not that anyone cares, but I feel like let's go the history, John. We were originally with a company called Podomatic.
Podomatic, yep.
That sucked butts because if your show got really popular, they charged you for download bandwidth, which is like unheard of now, which means the more people downloaded your show, the more money they would charge you, which is an insane business model that only could have worked in like 2007 when we
I mean, so we left that. We could go back and piece this together. We left that in like it was like 2010 maybe. I think we spent like 2 or 3 years there, and then we were like, fuck it, we're moving to Libsyn, and then we didn't move for 10 years or whatever it's been, 12 years. So
Libsyn was pretty cool. It was, again, like at the time it was big because they didn't charge you for bandwidth, and that was huge, and they pulled over a ton of business that way. But I do feel like they've been a little behind on sort of like catching up with this like new modernization wave, I feel like, of podcasts, like hosting and distribution and stuff.
Correct.
So one thing we're going to kind of be dipping our toes in here with Anchor is running some ads.
Possibly like somewhat TBD, because you have to be approved for ads on Anchor.
Gotcha. But like it'll be, we endeavor to have it be tastefully done and unobtrusive, but also it's a good time to remind people that there's always, even if we do start doing that, your Patreon podcast feed, which you can put into any podcast player, is still going to be getting those early release episodes that will always be ad free, and that's for any level at Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror, I think for the vast majority of people, it would be done in a way they don't care and it would be unobtrusive. But that option will always be there, and we just wanted to kind of give people a heads up, I guess.
We'll see. Just keep your ears peeled for ads.
Yeah, well, we will definitely be giving like another heads up if it's going to happen. Just to let people like to know, John. People like to have expectations,
Mm-hmm.
Can help.
Sure.
Not you. I know you just fly by the seat of your pants because you're so cool. I like to know what's going to happen before it happens.
It's helpful. I get it.
Yeah. The other things going on at Patreon, we're going to be starting to do some teases soon on our upcoming Patreon exclusive T-shirt. That's going to go out for free to our top supporting patrons, and then only be available to those people who are patrons. So really cool design by a designer out of, I think, Central Massachusetts. I lived there for like 10 years, and I don't really know the geography that well, John. I know like Boston, and then like the rest of it.
The rest of the
I'm
state.
like the U of Massachusetts, John.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I just put that together. But yeah, that's by an artist named John, and his stuff you can find it at Slime and Grime if you Google that. That's just the letter N, John, like the 90s. So check that out. Something else, yeah. So we got the early release episodes going, and the classics are going into that feed. I've been trying to make sure people know about that. I've been getting a little saucy, dipping farther back into the catalog to release those.
Careful
so
now.
if you're like a member at like the lowest 2 levels of Patreon, you don't have the full catalog access, but you would get that feed and get weekly kind of slow drip classics that I am calling them from like the same time of year. So like you could go listen to a show, John, from like 2010 and hear me talk about my allergies right now. Doesn't that sound like fun? You're
Sort of like, yeah, I was going to say sort of like this week.
This
you know?
week in time.
Nothing changes.
That's right.
It all
Nothing
remains
and
the same.
everything. So yeah, check that out. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. And these live streams that go out to certain levels, I think it's every one but the lowest one. If you don't catch it when it's on, they're always on YouTube. You just grab that link from your Patreon message and check us out in glorious 1080 HPs or HDs or whatever it's called, 1080p's. You can check. So you could see that. You could be looking at the gray in my beard right now, John.
I'm trying not to look at it.
So there we go. Casey, we do have one email, John. Kaylin and Kissimmee.
Yes.
Episode 656, which just happened. More evidence. John is a lizard person. He doesn't believe Epstein killed himself. Likely answer.
I love her.
John.
I really am a fan.
Wait, no, hold on. I do believe he killed himself.
Oh, you do? Okay, good. I'm glad for the clarification. Did you get a note from headquarters that you're supposed to pretend like you do believe?
Wait, hold on. During that conversation, I thought I was the only one who did believe it, and you all were
No,
like,
I'm fully on board that he did
No,
not
we
kill
all
As
himself.
someone who listened back, you were the non-believer, sir. Just have to say.
I'm very confused about what I believed
You're,
and
get-
who
you're
believes
listen.
other
You're
things.
you're getting real gas lampy right now, John. Be careful.
Maybe I am.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Casey, what do we got on the Twitters? Where Kaylin normally does our Twitter, and she's out, and the rest of us have been real bad at remembering. So get your Ask
Yeah.
BG.
Caitlin, we miss you.
Yes, we miss Caitlin. We mentioned it last week. She's going through some health things, but she's feeling a little better. Hoping she's back soon. In the meantime, all of us are bad at Twitter. You can always send an Ask BGH in if you're just like randomly thinking about something, but we have been trying to get those out. We apologize. Casey.
Yeah, and we do try to, go back and look within reference to the dates, so you can send a question at any time. But we have a hashtag out there, AskBGH, ask us questions, we'll answer. First one comes from our longtime friend at Skizbot. Are you able to keep house plants alive? What pagan deity is demanding a blood sacrifice from my home because not killing these damn things requires some kind of black magic?
I have fake ones, and only because Elizabeth bought them for me and said, "Here, put these here," and then I did.
That's the way to do it, you guys.
Yeah,
I
we've
am
never
mostly-
successfully had them. Sorry, Matilda.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I said I mostly kill them, which is a bad trait in a therapist because it does not help people feel like they will be nurtured.
Yeah, I
in
was
my
gonna
space
say.
to have dead plants. It's like not a.
Don't you want? Aren't
Confidence inspiring?
ferns the thing that you like can't kill unless you really try hard?
Oh,
They say that. They say that.
You've killed ferns,
Look,
Matilda.
I've kept a human child and a hamster alive for multiple years. I feel like I'm doing all right, and I need fake plants.
I love and a hamster. That's amazing.
Well, because look, for real though, I check her every day, and like I need to look up what a hamster's lifespan is because now I'm like I feel like she's an old lady, and if the bedding doesn't rustle the minute I open the door, I'm like she's dead. I'm just gonna have to tell my daughter it's gonna be like that episode of Full House where they have to go buy a replica.
I had a
It's not
lizard
good.
when I was a kid, and it was like a tropical lizard, and I lived in the Northeast. And one time the power went out in winter, and it died like in a cartoon on its back with its legs straight up in the air. Like it practically had X's for eyes.
Last summer
Oh.
we had the opposite situation because my son was the caretaker for the class turtle over the summer. They had like a turtle, baby turtle, tiny, and we left it over the weekend, not even without food. No, but it was basically in like direct sunlight, and like the sunlight like overheated the water, and the turtle died. Like not even
Oh.
like obviously it's like sunlight, like it's not like it
Dude,
overheated it.
dude,
to,
turtle.
like,
I had a turtle.
boiling or
I had a
something, but-
turtle too.
Ugh,
Turtle
sick.
care is
Yeah.
insane because turtles poop
Yeah.
like a lot,
Mhm,
and you
I
have
had a
to
turtle once.
regularly like siphon out the water like you're trying to steal gas and like empty it out and refill it.
It's like cleaning a
Yeah.
pool.
Yeah,
kid poops
it's
in,
a
like, all the
nightmare.
time.
I have to tell you, we have a 40-year-old turtle that lives in our
What?
house.
Excuse me?
Because my husband is the one child who did not kill his turtle.
You're
when he
allowed
was
to
10,
interrupt
and-
any of us to tell stories like this, by the way.
And the turtle became sick over the pandemic, and vet care during the pandemic, like you couldn't go in with your
Yeah.
pet, so we had to find like who would see the turtle and like hand it in a bucket
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
to them, and they brought it back out, and then they brought it back out with syringes and said, okay, you're going to give it a shot, you're going to give Blinky a shot, every
Blinky.
once a day. And we had to go back in and be like, I'm sorry, how do you give a turtle a shot? Like,
Yeah, by
There's
the skin
gotta
of
be a
its
YouTube
neck.
I'm
video
guessing
for
not
that.
in this shell.
so the
In
answer
between
is
his
you hold it like
toes,
you hold it like an ice cream sandwich, and you get him in the armpit.
Oh,
But
wow.
his toenail fungus really cleared up. So there
Oh,
you
that's
go.
good
That's
for
great.
Blinky. Is he doing
Oh,
okay?
That's a whole.
Is
Oh,
Blinky
man.
is Blinky
It's a
still
dark
alive?
week.
To go along with my pre-show stories, Elizabeth, with my gullibility with what my mom tells me, I had a hamster in probably 8th grade, and I had it in my room for like a year. It bit me once, and so I fed it. I cleaned its cage. I didn't interact with it much. I wasn't a big fan, and eventually it disappeared. I just thought it was gone. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, so that was like in 8th grade. And like my senior year of high school, I went up to help my mom move something in her classroom or something like that. Walked into her kindergarten classroom, and there's my hamster from 5 years earlier.
So it went to a
Amazing.
better place.
I
That's
saw
all.
the-
happy.
I will say the best thing about
That's
my
true.
turtle is I don't know if there's different kinds. No, this is a good question. It was like a half water, half like an amphibious
There's
turtle.
tons of
And,
different
like-
turtles, dude.
And once a month, we were instructed to feed it like 20 goldfish. Just dump them in there. And this
Hold on,
turtle,
like
Like
the
goldfish
snack?
crack
so
or
day to
like
day,
goldfish?
you
Live
fed,
goldfish.
Oh,
day to
okay.
day you fed like fish food type thing, and then once a month you were supposed to give it like just a whole mess of goldfish, just dump them in there live. And
Just
this-
a whole mess.
This
A
thing,
bushel of goldfish.
this thing would go effing Terminator on these goldfish, like fucking a thing that I literally saw never barely move would
Stop
tur-
it! I am dead.
would
That is the
turn into jaws instantly in the water, snapping, and it would like snap them in half instantaneously, rip them apart, eat, and it would not stop until they were all
Oh my
gone.
God.
And when it was done, the rocks and the water and the guts
on.
were ever. Mark and I would literally dump them in and just sit and watch it.
That's
'Cause it
Yeah,
was
amazing.
it sounds like a great
amazing.
afternoon. Matilda, is
No,
that
John,
something
it was
that
a
you
great
do with your
30
turtle?
seconds.
So our turtle is, I want to say the turtle is in his dotage, but I don't think that's true. I think this turtle might outlive us, and we don't have kids, so this is going to be
It's
a whole
like
thing.
parrots. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a- yeah.
The turtle eats turtle food most of the time, but yeah, we have live goldfish a few times a week. Although I don't know how good his sight is because we have to, the net that you put a goldfish in there with, we have to be like Vanna White with the here it is.
You gotta,
I'll
like-
get it over
Has
here.
anybody read the Stephen King short story? I think it's called The Man in Black, about the kid who's like down by the river and he sees this like demonic man unhinge his jaws and just like eat
yes,
fish. That's like
yes.
all I can.
Mm.
I gotta tell you,
And I
it's,
sound psychotic, but
I'll
I need
never-
to see this.
But
I
they
gotta-
bite him in half and their guts go everywhere.
I gotta tell you, I'll never forget it. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, and you're just like, huh, nature.
The
That's
first
fun.
hamster I ever had babies 2 days after we got it back from Ruby Begonias, the local pet store. And I was so excited. My parents were not. I got home from school the day after she had babies and she ate them all, except for like some parts.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It was
Except for some parts.
Yep.
Gross.
it was really fucked up.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for the trauma hour here at BGH. Casey,
Yeah.
what's next?
And we still
Turtles
have
and
more
trauma.
tweets. Our next tweet comes from @4ColorCraig. This is more of a statement than a question, but I'll share with the class. Last week, one of your guests from the Zombie Girls podcast said, I appreciated the shocking, transgressive nature of the masturbation scenes, and I feel like BGH leveled up somehow.
That was,
I
by the
actually
way,
wrote that phrase down as I was listening to it. 'Cause that was
Matilda. That was your friend Rachel. By the
Rachel. Yeah.
Yes.
I believe that.
way.
Mhm.
Was
It
that,
was a
wait,
really
was
nice
that
Come out with
phrase.
one once in a
It was
while.
a nice phrase.
Yeah.
is that in reference to X?
No,
No, it was
last week was.
the
No.
your favorite movie ever, John. Your
So
episode
scary and
fanfic.
Yes,
I-
yeah.
I
Sorry.
refuse
Yeah.
to.
Now I
I
remember.
refuse to dignify that movie title by saying it again.
The scary. What is it? I don't know.
Scary of 61st.
How do you remember that?
Because I live
Because you live there.
like not that
Your
far away.
house.
Yeah.
We didn't remember the title, but we remembered the transgressive nature of the masturbation scene.
Hell yes, we did. Because that's a
What?
badass fucking.
Transgressive is a good
phrase.
word to describe those scenes. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Rachel was like an informational sex writer for a little while. You should ask her about that.
That's
Oh,
right.
Ah.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
All right.
Next up, we have a question from a longtime friend from Down Under, Andy @HorrorFan4129. And this actually pertains to tonight's movies. Studio 666 had some great practical effects. Do you think this will inspire more movies to go the practical effects route? And do you have a favorite kill?
Do you know what's so interesting is how
Chainsaw when they're fucking, and I wish
Well,
this
yeah.
would inspire
That
more
was pretty over
practical
the top.
effects.
That was pretty great.
Yeah, that was pretty. Reminded me of Jay.
That was like if you could see the kill the Kevin Bacon Friday, like it's like an updated version of everybody's like favorite
kind of reminded me of a.
2-in-1.
There's a kill in the unrated version of Jason Goes to Hell. That's like kind of reminded me of like a split in half.
Yeah.
Did not know
Such
that.
You didn't know that one?
Ooh, I didn't. I didn't know that.
I kind of it's terrible to say this in this month, but I kind of loved the symbol. Like
Yeah.
I kind of loved the
Oh,
Taylor
'cause
Hawkins
Easter?
stuff, but that in
Oh,
this
yeah,
movie,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that
Yeah.
was really
That was a good scene
but it's
with
sad
him
to
finishing
see
it.
it
And he's
now.
like, "This isn't Dave." Like everything. He was actually like
yeah.
he was acting a little there. I was,
Matilda,
like,
do you mean
feeling
Yeah.
it.
do you mean because it's Easter month?
Because he's
No, 'cause
dead?
he just
No.
died.
Oh.
He just
Because
died
he
like 2
died.
weeks
Are you
ago, you
so-
dingus.
Okay, Aaron.
I was the
Good
symbol was like because the symbol was like a satanic
Ooh,
like.
Lord have mercy. Okay, the drug jokes did hit weird with me because of
Yeah.
you know,
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But they I thought they went kind of light on the drug.
They
jokes, too,
did,
the-
they did.
the
I feel
rock
like
and
there were
roll
some-
He
movie.
did.
there were some
Yeah.
edits made that I
Yeah. I thought they were well restrained.
I also
in
didn't
that
come
aspect.
away from it being like, well, he looks healthy and good. Like, I don't know.
I mean, none of them look
No,
like they're eating their kale.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, there wasn't anyone. That,
I don't think there's multivitamins on a craft service table here.
He looked that
Oh.
hydrated.
Yeah.
All right, we got 2 more tweets, and both of them are "Speak of the Devil" and "She Shall Appear," but they both come from @RachyPants. First one, let's play Mary F. Kill, Dave Grohl, Anthony Kiedis, and Kid Rock.
Oh,
'cause she
God.
was so-
Kill Kid
God.
Rock. Like,
Mhm.
Jesus Christ. Come on.
yeah,
Oh, that's kind of
Yeah.
hard. Hold on.
No, it's not. Kill Kid Rock.
it's not that hard.
You F Anthony Kiedis because he definitely is not commitment material, and you married Dave
Yep.
Grohl.
I feel like
Done.
you are more a straight woman than I am.
I feel like the answer is you kill yourself to get out of this. story.
Yeah. Are we
I
talking
think that's a
present
fair
day?
answer.
'Cause I haven't Googled Anthony Kiedis in a
Oh,
moment.
100% Anthony Kiedis is like moments away from getting canceled at any second. So I think
Oh,
you should take
you
that
know
into
it.
consideration.
But I want
Not
to
good.
Google
Don't
him, and I
Google
want him
it.
to look like an elderly sister wife. I want all the hair to still be there, but like be like super gray and maybe in like a
What if he has like
It's
2
a- it's
lines
a
in his
little-
beard that are like?
It's a
that.
Yeah.
little
I'll
more
look at too.
Might
So
tip the scales.
bring it
kind
on.
of Karen-y, I'm sorry to tell you. Yeah.
Ugh, okay. So yeah, I might be with Miss Hilda on this one. That one bullet might be going into me.
There
Yeah.
you go. Oh man.
All right, and to finish it up, this is our last tweet, also from @RachyPants. What all-female band could be vastly improved by the presence of Dave Grohl? And no, Matilda, you can't just say all of them.
Casey, all I hear is beep.
You roboted
You
out there.
roboted out. All I heard is
Oh.
beep, beep, boop. Just
Say it
then.
again. Do it again.
what all-female band would be vastly improved with the presence of Dave Grohl? And no, Matilda,
Oh, I
you
see.
can't
I
just
see.
pick
I got
all
this.
of them.
It's what all female. She's
Female
trolling you, Matilda. What all female band would be improved by the presence of Dave Grohl?
What all female band?
I
Matilda
assume
looks
that's a question
mad.
I'm
for
not gonna-
Matilda, so I'm not answering.
I mean, I'm very interested in everyone else's answers, though. That's,
I'm gonna
I
say
have my answer.
the made up band in Freaky Friday that Lindsay Lohan and her friends are in.
You know what's funny? I do have like there's a strain on my Spotify like algorithm that's because I listen to these types of bands. It's like a very specific lane of folk music that's like a couple ladies and there's a guy drummer. So like it's a thing.
Mhm. It is a thing.
Yeah. There's like a gentle, sweet-looking guy drummer who just like hangs out in the back and plays the drums.
I mean, he's a good musician if he's like
yeah.
yeah.
kind of knows his
Yeah.
place and like isn't trying to make movies about himself and stuff.
I think anybody
I
can get a benefit of putting Dave Grohl on the drum set, right?
Sure.
So I'm going to say that because the thing I haven't seen him do is choreography, I'm going to say like the Spice Girls. Like,
I
I'm
was
gonna
gonna
There
say
you go.
Spice Girls too.
I love
right,
it.
and he's
Or like some
shown,
K-pop.
Like, that
What if
Finds some
right? What if
Yeah.
we took Dave Grohl and the Spice Girls and you created like a baby metal kind of situation?
like,
Oh,
a kitty
he would kill that.
situation.
That's amazing. Is that real? Needs to
We'll
be.
talk.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, tonight it
Because he
is.
seems like
I'll
he's
make this.
affable and up for things. You know what I mean? So I feel like he.
Oh,
would
he's definitely
Yeah.
a 7 on the Enneagram for sure.
get some.
Okay. Oh, I think Matilda, you were the other Enneagram person, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Okay.
What number are you? Remind me.
Me, I'm a 9 with an 8 lean.
Oh, I love 9/8. Ah, we need to hang.
All right. Instagram, Bloody Good Horror. I got it out sooner than last week, John, earlier than last week. So we're a little better
nice.
shape. Just got Shudder. This is from somebody pointed out that is there a reason why I don't read the name of the people on Instagram? And it's only because when you answer a question on Instagram, it gets posted anonymously when I repost it. So I never know if people like, what? I might as well. I mean,
Oh,
don't ask me your weird questions if you don't want me to read your name. How's that? And then I'll just read names. Kay says, whatever. Just got Shudder. Excited to watch Joe Bob for the first time. Any particular favorites? I said they just did a Valentine's Day special where they did Frankenhooker, and it's amazing.
Frankenhooker. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a
It's
good suggestion.
So good. The movies kind of come and go as the rights do. So like it'll go all the way back to that first 24-hour marathon that he did in 2018, and you can go through then all the seasons and all the specials. Try searching alternately like Joe Bob and then Last Drive-In because they name the specials like Joe Bob's Halloween, whatever, and so
They're
like
hard
it
to
doesn't.
find sometimes.
Their
yeah.
search thing sucks, but so there's a ton of material on there.
No
If
one's
you're
going
looking
to Shudder for like great product experience. Just
Yeah.
to be clear.
It's
Shudder,
that-
we
If
love
you're
you.
looking for,
Honestly, it's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
no,
my
totally.
only it's mostly my only complaint about Shudder these days, except that their Shudder TV channels, which I love as a concept, do not get new content often.
Right.
enough.
They need like 10 more of those, and they need somebody on it, like
It's
Pandora
gotta be up.
Station
It
style.
should be weekly.
But do y'all remember when Shudder was just like 4 like shorts
It
and
was
like
good- it was-
some
listen.
like public domain bullshit? And I was like, why am I paying for this shit? Even though Bloody Good Horror gave me 20% off. And now it's like legit,
it's come so far. Like it is really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I discovered today? Speaking of Joe Bob, I was on Amazon Prime, and they have a whole season of some Elvira show. So I Googled and I started looking into it. It's from 2012. Hulu ordered it, and it was in conjunction with Full Moon. So it's Elvira doing like horror hosting with a bunch of like Full Moon movies, like new and old. And it was like a 13 Days of Halloween thing where it was like every day. I was like, holy
watched
shit,
one of
I got it queued up for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I would say though, as far as Joe Bob on Shudder goes, if you're looking for a movie that makes you think, "What the hell did I just watch?" And get some good input on it, watch the Demon Wind episode.
Oh
of
my
Joe
God,
Bob.
yes, thank you,
That
Chrissy.
was good. Yeah, that was a good one.
The Demon Wind episode of Joe Bob is like
Yeah.
one
He
of my
also
favorite
did
things ever.
Sorority Slime Bowl-orama, right? That's one of my
Yeah,
favorite.
I think so.
Yes,
yeah.
he did.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
did. I don't know.
Check
If,
that out.
I don't know if that one's up right now. My favorite thing about Demon Wind was my parents were coming out to visit me in Boston that night, and they got there, and it was like I think that was the first season that he had come back or something, and they got there like halfway into the movie, and I was like, They know me. I was like, listen, we're watching this, so like buckle in because this is happening. So they just like sat and watched the second half of it with me. It was pretty funny. What is the scariest song you've ever heard?
There's some kind of haunting. Okay, so I'm a big fan of The House of Leaves, the book, the
Yeah.
novel. Poe did a concept album that was like in partnership with
Huh.
that book. They were such huge fans. Anyway, I'm messing up the history of this. There are some songs on there that because that book scared the shit so
Yeah.
thoroughly out of me, like they'll have like just excerpts from this
Interesting.
book that like it's pretty effective.
My answer is "Tiptoe Through the Tulips" by Tiny Tim.
Ooh.
And I will not
Never
be
mind,
taking
I
any
changed my
questions
answer,
at this
that's
time. This is funny actually because so I was rocking some 80s jams in my house on Sunday morning. My girls were here and they my 5-year-old is now obsessed with Thriller, the song.
Mm-hmm.
We listened to it 13 times on Monday, just about. And her favorite part is, quote, the part with the scary words, which is when Vincent Price at the end is basically in the scariest voice possible. Like, you're going to die and rot in a grave and like over and over. And like,
yeah.
Literally, it is now to the point where I can now use it to get her to do things. Like, it's incredible.
I love
so
it.
It was funny because we've been talking lately, like, how do you get kids into horror? And I'm like, I don't know, but I think I might have accidentally stumbled upon it, and it might be Thriller.
That's a good one.
It's Thriller, yeah.
And then they wanted to like know who sang it. I'm like, we're gonna have to talk.
We're
about
not gonna talk about Bruno, but
oh man, Thriller. Who knew? I think I'm gonna like load up some like get a Halloween playlist and do some like Monster Mash and stuff.
There's a band called Blitz and Trappin', to put my hipster glasses on. They got a song called Black River Killer, which isn't necessarily scary, but it is a killer story.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
I bought an album actually at a flea market that's like from 1960, and it's like scary sounds and storyscapes or something. And it's I played it when you were here.
I was
it's
there
like
when you bought it. Yeah.
Legit freaking weird. It's real strange.
Well, those like I remember I had one. I want to say it was like from Disney back in the day. It was on a cassette tape, but yeah, like the second like the second side of the album is just like sound effects, and it'll just be like creepy chain, woman screaming.
That's what the
like,
B-side was on.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Love it. Back in the day when like that's how you got sound effects. Favorite Foo Fighters song, and do you think they will continue to make music and tour?
Oh.
I'm a basic bitch. I'm just gonna say Everlong. It's good, Jim.
Oh gosh.
I think I put my cards on the table earlier and would have to go Everlong as well.
Yeah.
They were at a really interesting junction to me of like where that first wave of alternative music had kind of burned out in like in a lot of ways kind of accelerated by Kurt Cobain dying, and their music was sort of interesting because it was just a little like pop rockier, but like retained enough of that sound. I mean, if you were like a hardcore fan, you probably were like, fuck those guys. But it made it like very accessible and a little less kind of gleefully depressing than like a Nirvana. I think that's kind of part of the reason why a lot of people have connected with his music.
Yeah. I'm pretty big on All My Life, I think it was, that they actually made a joke about in this movie the first time before he played Everlong. That's a pretty big song for me. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I didn't even recognize that one. That's interesting. Maybe if I heard the actual song and not just the riff.
Yeah, you would recognize it. I don't know if they're going to come back, to be honest. This is...
Really?
I've got my best friend that I was going to go see them with this summer. We were talking about it, and like when we went to see the Batman, like the day that Taylor Hawkins died, and we were talking about it. We didn't know because like when Kurt Cobain died, Dave Grohl disappeared for like a year and a half, 2 years, and didn't do anything music for a while he was coping with that. And so I honestly don't know how he's going to react to this. This is like a double hit, so who knows? He may say, "I'm done."
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's not a question, that Joe.
I just had to Google the lyric. I like the song Breakout.
Nice.
Anyway.
What artist or band would you love to hear a metal album from?
I don't know.
My answer was John Carpenter.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. I like it.
I think I'm just good. Like, I don't really listen to metal, so
You're like full up. on your.
Yeah, like
Yeah, but there's a lot of bands out there now. Actually, Mondo, who was on the show a couple months ago, was sharing some stuff with me. There's a weird like break off of synthwave that's kind of merging with metal in some ways, and it's like
That's
kind of a
interesting.
combination of the two sounds, and that's why I say John Carpenter. Like, I just love like a little bit of 80s metal guitar mixed in with my synthwave, and like it's interesting to think about just tipping the scale even like a little farther towards metal.
Yeah.
I
I'm with
think
John.
that could be good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that could be fun. I'm with John though. I'm not enough of a metalhead to say who I would appreciate doing a metal album.
I mean, I'm not talking like real metal. Like we've covered it. Like I don't like to have my feelings hurt when I'm listening to music. But this
So we listen to a lot of metal in this house, and I feel like it gets dangerous. Like Pat Boone made a metal album at some point.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, I was just thinking of that from the night. That was like a huge thing in the 90s. It was like, yeah, he was like a crooner from the 50s or something, or the 60s.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
It was Pat Boone and Christopher Lee making metal albums.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I feel like what people who don't listen to it like think is concerning, like where it goes can get concerning. But I think some of the synth bands actually could do some pretty interesting long form, like doomy things.
It's so, dude, it's so funny. I was like sitting here specifically trying to think of that Pat Boone thing, and it was really wild because I remember him doing the press tour wearing some like weird cheap S&M gear and shit. Like he did like a whole publicity photo shoot for it, but he still had his like greatest generation grandpa haircut, and it was just like, this is so weird.
It was pretty unhinged. I mean, I will recommend, there is a great band called Hell Songs. Do you know who this is?
I don't.
That sounds
you can
too much like Hills. Okay. Yes. Very different.
It is folk versions of metal songs, but they're very faithful and very good. There's like an excellent War Pigs.
Nice. It's Hell Songs.
You can find it on all your platforms.
I'm searching now.
It's Scandinavian
Can
folk
you
band.
can you spell this out for me? It's like 2 words. Hell Songs.
I think it's all one word.
Hell Songs artist. Yeah, there we go.
Their version of Megadeth's Symphony for Destruction is pretty great.
I love this.
You know what song gets, talking of folk music, to make this just longer and more painful for everybody, which video game was it? Which Far Cry was it where it was like the cult leader?
5, I think.
Somebody.
That was
yes.
5, I think.
Whatever band did their like creepy cult music, I remember, like, I didn't even play that game. I just lived somewhere where someone did. And I remember every single song and harmony from that. It's fabulous. Check it out.
Love it. Creepy cults. All right, y'all. That's going to do it for Studio 666. It's worth mentioning, John. It occurred to me as I was posting our show last week. We are within like 3 months or less range of hitting episode 666, John.
Yeah.
The devil's number.
Yeah,
we've been talking behind the scenes, doing something, a little bit of a fun selection for that one, and that's all I'm gonna say. We're gonna withhold that for the moment.
Well, since Matilda introduced the term in email, I hope it involves satanic Scooby-Doo antics.
Yes.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
We're actually gonna be releasing our own movie that we shot and directed ourselves, where we go to a house to record a podcast, and zany hijinks ensue.
Over Zoom, we shot it.
Eric's lost his flair for writing podcast intros, and he doesn't know what to do.
John and I will fight over who gets to be Pasmere. So there it is. Yeah. All right. Elizabeth, where can people hear you, check you out on social?
Places. I don't know. Zombie Girls More Deadly has a new theme that Eric and myself are responsible for.
You can also search for
Plug It Up.
the Holler Kings.
The
If
Holler
you search
Kings,
for them on
yeah.
Spotify, you can find another intro we did.
Usually at work or in my cool apartment.
What's your social handle?
It's Final Girl Scout everywhere.
That's probably the best way people can find you and other stuff. Matilda, where can people find you?
They can find me in the Zombie Girls universe at ZG Podcasts on everything.
Love it.
Instagram, Twitter, etc.
Love it. John, nobody cares where to find you. It's fine. No. You're not even on social media. You're like you're too cool. Too cool.
I'm on LinkedIn, Eric. Come on.
You work for like a.
He's like the killer. Spoiler alert. In Fresh, it's like Sebastian said. Like he's gonna just meet a person that's gonna be like, "You have no footprint online. You're no."
Well,
Okay.
you never have the option of doing that if you haven't stayed off the internet. So he figures, why not be safe? You know, I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years.
It's what a lizard person would do.
Yes,
I'll
that's
jump.
true.
I'm going to jump in here, Eric, just to say you can find me on Instagram, cinema.fromage.
Love it.
I post art under my art name, c.fromage. So come hang out.
And you have a Redbubble store, right?
I do. I don't know the address, but there's a Linktree/Cinema Fromage you can go to, and it'll get you there.
Love it. All right, fam. We don't know what we're doing next week, but we'll get there soon. Shout out to our homegirl, Caitlin. We hope you feel better soon.
We love you.
We love you. Thank you to Elizabeth and Matilda for joining us tonight.
Thanks for
And
having us.
Thank you.
we will talk to you very soon.
See you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.